Hola y bienvenidos a todos a Español Uno. Hello and welcome everyone to your very first Spanish lesson. So this chapter is called Lección Preliminar, the preliminary lesson, if you will. And every chapter in our text is centered around a country. This particular country, this particular chapter is about Nueva York, which is not a country, a city. New York, Nueva York. There's a very large Hispanic population in New York, and for this reason, the Lección Preliminar chapter takes place there. In this chapter, we're going to be learning about how to greet people and say goodbye, how to introduce yourself in Spanish, and how to introduce other people also. How to spell things, including your name and other people's names, how to say where you're from, how to exchange phone numbers, how to express what day of the week it is, how to describe the weather, how to respond to classroom instructions like stand up, sit down, listen, those kind of things, and how to identify subject pronouns. So, as we get started, you see a variety of vocabulary in this chapter. Now, if we were in class together right at this moment, we'd be listening to these read aloud. But for now, I'm just going to read these out loud to help you. So here at letter A, we see these two chicas who are talking. And the lady in the pink here says, Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hola means hello, and ¿cómo estás? How are you? Note that ¿cómo estás is the informal way of saying how are you. So, hola, ¿cómo estás? Hello, how are you? And she says back, bien, I'm doing well. ¿Y tú? And you? And this girl says back, she's mal. She is not good. She's bad. Mal. Okay, so again, you have all this vocab here to your right. Hola, hello. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Informal. Bien, well. ¿Y tú? And you. And mal, bad. Now, of course, you have the Quizlets to help you study these vocab words, but it might not be a bad idea as you go through these videos to maybe make flashcards or something that's going to help you study for your quizzes, okay? So, notice they are kissing on the cheek in this video, or in this photo. That is very common in Spanish-speaking countries. You see sometimes a greeting, depending on the country, they may kiss only on one cheek, sometimes both cheeks. Sometimes it's just two women, sometimes it's a man and a woman, sometimes it's two men. It just depends on the country. So, interesting fact there. Here you see these two guys, and this is Juan in the green here, and then you see Miguel over here in the yellow, and Juan says, Hola Miguel! Hello Michael! Hola Miguel! ¿Qué tal? How's it going? ¿Qué tal? How's it going? Very informal greeting you might use with a friend. And Miguel says back, Hola, ¿qué pasa? Hey, what's up? Hola, ¿qué pasa? So you have ¿qué tal? How's it going? And ¿qué pasa? What's up? As we keep looking, we see Juan here talking to Ana. And Juan says, hasta luego, Ana. And Ana says, hasta luego. So hasta luego is see you later. Be careful with this word hasta. The H in Spanish is silent. That's why we don't say hola, we say hola. Same thing here. We don't say hasta, we say hasta luego, hasta. All right. In letter D here, we see señorita, casa. And notice SRTA is the abbreviation for señorita. Señorita means miss, an unmarried woman, Miss MS. So señorita Daza, and she's talking to señor, SR period, Mr. Ortega. So again, notice señorita is SRTA period, Miss, señor, SR period, Mr., and then a señora is a married woman, SRA period. So, for example, if you were thinking about maybe someone you're meeting for the first time who is a female, you're probably going to use señorita just to be polite in conversation. But if you found out later that woman were married, you would refer to her as señora. Okay, and then men are always señor. Pretty easy there. So, Señorita Daza says adios when talking here to Mr. Ortega, and Señor Ortega says back, adios, señorita, goodbye, miss. Here we get into some more greetings, and you can see this clock here with the time. It's pointing to 7 o'clock a.m. Señor Martinez says, buenos dias, Señora Ramos. So he must know that she's married because he called her Señora, Mrs. So, buenos dias, good morning, Mrs. Ramos. And then he asks, ¿Cómo está usted? How are you in the formal way? So notice they're wearing suits. They're in more of a business context. They're trying to be formal with one another. So they said, ¿Cómo está usted? Using the formal register. Not to be confused with what we learned earlier, ¿Cómo estás? The informal way of asking, how are you? Okay, so Mr. Martinez says, good morning, Mrs. Ramos. How are you today? Mrs. Ramos, Senora Ramos says, regular. I'm all right. I'm normal. I'm okay. ¿Y usted? And you, formal? And Mr. Martinez says, más o menos, which literally translates to more or less. I'm okay, más o menos. We might also translate this as so-so. And I added the phrase here, así así, even though it's not in your book. I like así así. So-so, it's just a common thing you hear in Spanish. So, buenos dias, good morning. ¿Cómo está usted? How are you, formal? Y usted, and you, formal. The E, the little Y pronounced as E, means and usted literally means you, formal. So, y usted and you, formal. Regular, normal or regular. Más o menos, more or less. And así así, so-so. Okay, as you keep going here in letter F, you see these two guys talking. This is Juan again, and he's talking to Esteban. And this time you see the clock, and it shows that it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So rather than saying good morning, he says buenas tardes, good afternoon. Juan asks, ¿Cómo estás? Again, how are you, informal? They're about the same age. No reason to be formal here. ¿Cómo estás? And Esteban says, I'm muy bien. I am very well. So bien by itself, I'm well. Muy bien, I'm very well. All right, as you keep looking here, you see Senora Acevedo talking to Diana. And Senora Acevedo says, hola, buenas noches. Hello, good evening or good night. In this case, they're greeting, so they're probably saying good evening. But you can also, as you say goodbye to someone, you can say buenas noches, goodbye or good night, as in a farewell, as if you're leaving a party. Okay, I'm leaving. Good night. Buenas noches. Same thing here, but in this context, it's good evening. So, Senora Acevedo, hello, good evening, and Diana, buenas noches, Senora. Good evening, Mrs. Or good evening, Senora. Okay, and finally in letter H, Senor Garcia says, buenas noches, Diana. Good evening, Diana, and or good night, maybe again in this case. And Diana says, hasta mañana, Senor Garcia. Hasta mañana. See you tomorrow, Mr. Garcia. Okay, so you see a lot of these things here. What we're going to do next is a little listening activity about greetings and goodbyes. Now, if we were actually in the classroom together, something that I like to make my students do, I like to make you walk to the front of the class when you hear a greeting, or walk towards the back of the class when you hear a goodbye. So on your own, I just want you to identify if these are greetings or if they're goodbyes, okay? So you can do that however you like. You may raise your hand if it's a greeting or not raise your hand if it's a farewell. You get to choose. Just make sure you identify these as one or the other, okay? Let's give these a try.
Lección preliminar. A responder. Listen to these people greeting and saying goodbye. Wave toward the front of the room if you hear a greeting, or toward the back of the room if you hear a goodbye.
1. Buenos días.
Buenos dias. So you have to think about what buenos dias means. Hopefully you're saying good morning. So you're pointing or waving towards the front of your room.
2.
Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana. So you got to think about what that means. Hopefully you're saying hasta mañana was see you tomorrow. You should be waving towards the back of your room. That's a farewell.
3. Adiós.
Adios. We all know adios means goodbye. So you should be pointing towards the back of your room.
4.
¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal? All right, we know that ¿qué tal means how's it going, what's up? So that's more of a greeting. We should be pointing towards the front of our room.
5. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Okay, so buenas tardes, good afternoon. In this case, that is a greeting. Should be pointing towards the front of the room.
6. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. See you later. Back of the room. Okay, so you got to hear some listening here in this activity. One thing that I want you to do now on your own, this is an activity where you get to match up the phrases they're trying to say. These are the same vocab words you just saw. So here in numbers 1 through 5, you have the question, and then in A through E, you have some possible answers. So in number 1, we have ¿Cómo está? And you have to complete it. We should say ¿Cómo está? How are? And our best answer here is usted. How are you formal? ¿Cómo está usted? Okay, I want you to take a moment and I want you to pause this video and give numbers 2 through 5 a quick try. When you're ready, you can unpause and we'll go over the answers together. So go ahead and pause. All right, now that you have had a moment to try these, in number 2, it says buenas, good, and then you have to find the phrase that best matches here. So in this case, it should be buenas tardes, good afternoon, buenas tardes. So number 2 goes with D, buenas tardes. Number 3, ask us que blank, and the best option here was que tal, how's it going, que tal. You're just finding the words that match up from your vocab. Number 4 said muy bien, I'm very well. And then you might ask someone in response, and yourself, y usted, and you. And then finally, our last one, we have hasta mañana, see you tomorrow, hasta mañana. So you're probably wondering about all this formal and informal stuff. And one of our learning objectives here is to differentiate between formal and informal registers in Spanish. So you already know about ¿Cómo estás? How are you informal? And ¿Cómo está usted? How are you formal? You also already know about ¿y tú? And you informal, and ¿y usted? And you formal. And you know that ¿Cómo estás? And ¿y tú? Are informal. And you know that ¿Cómo está usted? And ¿y usted? Are formal phrases, but you probably don't know how to use each one yet. So let's talk about it. These informal expressions, ¿Cómo estás? ¿Y tú? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué pasa? Any of those we're probably going to use with people who are our own age, right? I don't know about you, but when I meet someone else who's my age, I'm not like, well, hello, Mr. So-and-so, how are you today? Like, you're not super formal. You're like, hey, man, what's up, right? So kind of the same thing. You're going to be more informal with people who are your own age, other people in your class, for example, you would use the informal with. Now, in most cases, that is. You also might use an informal register with a relative. So when you're talking to your mom or your dad or your parents or brothers and sisters, you're probably going to use the informal greeting, right? You know each other very well. You're very friendly, most likely. So you're going to use an informal greeting. Anybody you call by their first name, you're going to use an informal greeting. So this can change. For example, when you meet your boss for the first time, you might refer to your boss as Miss Moore or Dr. Moore, right? But then as you get to know her a little more, you might call her Gina, or you might call her by her first name. So the register can change as you get to know someone. So let's hop over to these formal greetings now. As I said, you're going to use a formal greeting with strangers, people you don't know very well. And that can change. So maybe when you meet a classmate for the first time, you're a little bit more formal, but then you lighten up a little bit. You might also use a formal register with elders. So anytime I see an old lady in Spanish, I instantly am like señora or doña or señorita. Like you're immediately going to be more formal, and you probably don't call them by their first name. Same thing maybe with your parents' friends when you were growing up. You didn't call your parents. My parents' best friends were Beth and Chad, and I didn't call them Beth or Chad. I called them Mr. Corral or Mrs. Corral, right? So you're going to be more, a little bit more friendly in that respect. Okay, and then finally, you're going to use these formal phrases with a person to whom you want to show respect in general. So anybody that you're just not sure about, or you just want to make sure you're being polite, you're going to use a formal greeting. ¿Cómo está usted? Okay, so as we keep moving here, in this activity, you are given a few different people. You can see you have your best friend, the school principal, Mr. and Mrs. Lopez, your mother and father, so on and so forth. And then you're given a time. So in all of these, you have to decide first what kind of greeting you're going to use. Are you going to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening? And are you going to use a formal or an informal greeting? ¿Cómo estás? Or ¿Cómo está usted? All right, so as we practice here, in the modelo, the model, you have Señor y Señora Vargas, Mr. and Mrs. Vargas, and we're at 7 a.m. in the morning. So if it's 7 a.m., we're obviously going to start with good morning, buenos dias, as you can see here. And because it's Mr. and Mrs. Vargas, we're going to ask, how are you in the formal way, because we're not calling them by their first names. We're calling them Mr. Vargas or Mrs. Vargas. So, ¿cómo está usted in this case? Okay, let's do number 1 together. It says we're talking about your best friend, and then it's 10 p.m. Well, 10 p.m. we know is 10 o'clock at night. So I'm going to say good evening. You maybe remember good evening is good. Hopefully you're saying buenas noches. Buenas noches. And we're talking to our best friend, somebody I know well, so I'm going to use an informal greeting. So there I'm probably going to say, ¿Cómo estás? So we should say buenas noches, ¿cómo estás? As our final answer. All right, I want you to try numbers 2 through 8 very quickly. And give these your best attempt, okay? You can unpause when you're ready. All right, now that you've had a second to try these, in number 2, it says we're talking about our school principal. If you were talking about your school principal or maybe the dean of a college or something like that, you definitely want to show that person respect. You want to be respectful. And it's 2 p.m., it's the afternoon. So to say good afternoon, we're going to say buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. And we're going to use a formal greeting to show respect. So we're going to say ¿Cómo está usted? Okay, hopefully you're getting these right. Number 3, we're talking to Señor, Mr., or Señorita, Ms. Lopez. And it's 7 p.m. At 7 at night, we're going to say good evening. So we should say buenas noches. And again, we call them Mr. or Ms. Lopez. So it is formal. We did not call them by their first name. So it should be ¿Cómo está usted? Number 4, though, we're talking to mom and dad, our mother and father, and it's 9 a.m. in the morning. I don't know about you, we don't talk in my house that early in the morning, okay? But if it's 9 a.m., we're going to say good morning, buenos dias, and an informal greeting, because we know these people very well, obviously. They gave birth to us, so it should be ¿Cómo estás? Number 5, Señor y Señora Santos, Mr. and Mrs. Santos, and it's 4 p.m. So in this case, 4 p.m., it is the afternoon. We're going to say good afternoon, buenas tardes. And again, we call them Mr. and Mrs. Santos. So we're going to use a formal greeting. ¿Cómo está usted? All right. I think you're getting the hang of this. For the others, I did want to point out on number 7 and 8, these could go either way. So number 7, it was 11 o'clock a.m. So it's morning. We had to say buenos dias. And number 8, it's 10 a.m. We also had to say buenos dias. Where it gets tricky is your coach. Some people, I would say most people, probably have a pretty informal relationship with your coach. So maybe when you first got to know him or her, you were very formal, Coach Brenninger, Coach so-and-so, and you used the formal form, ¿Cómo está usted? Because they're your elder, you want to show respect to them, so on and so forth. But as you get to know your coach and sort of establish more of a friendly relationship, that may change to be more of an informal greeting. ¿Cómo está usted? So I would take either one on that one. Kind of the same thing with your Spanish teacher. In general, you should always use your formal form with your Spanish teacher, ¿Cómo está usted? With any kind of elder or adult. But I always tell my students that you can use the two form with me. Me puedes tutear. So my students usually use ¿Cómo estás? Or the informal form. But again, these two could kind of go either way, depending on the situation and the person you're dealing with. All right, so I think you're getting the hang of that. We're going to move on past the greetings and introductions a little bit here and go into what we call mucho gusto, which means nice to meet you. So beyond just saying good morning, how are you, we're actually going to get to know someone just a little bit. And I'm going to make this full screen. Okay, so here our learning objective is to create sentences in Spanish, introducing oneself and others, and to demonstrate understanding of these greetings and introductions. So here in letter A, you see Esteban in the orange, and he is talking to his friend Diana, who is in the blue, holding the basketball. So Esteban says, Hola, me llamo Esteban, y tú, ¿cómo te llamas? So, hello, my name is Esteban, and you, what is your name? So, me llamo, my name is. And the question he asked was, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? So if I were to ask you your name right now, I would say, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? And you would reply back. Good. You would reply back, me llamo, and your name. So let's try one more time. ¿Cómo te llamas? Oh, okay. I would say, me llamo Matthew. And you would say, me llamo, whatever your name is. And then I'd probably say, mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. In this case, Esteban replies back to Diana, and she says, encantado, delighted, literally, or a pleasure, we might say, delighted, encantado. Now, be careful with this word encantado. Esteban is a male, so he's delighted. He said encantado, which ends in an O, because he's male. The O is masculine in Spanish, so encantado. If Diana were saying nice to meet you back, she would say encantada with an A because she is a female. Okay, so one more time, a few words here. Me llamo, my name is. ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? We also see here encantado or encantada, nice to meet you, delighted. And then Diana says back here, igualmente, same here, or likewise. All right, so these are some common expressions you see here with mucho gusto. As we keep going down, now you see them in a group of people. And you see Esteban here, and then we still have Diana. And Diana says, well, te presento a Esteban. Te presento a, let me introduce you to Esteban. And this is Ana over here, and Ana says, oh, encantada. I'm delighted. It's nice to meet you. And notice she used an A because she's a female. And Esteban says back, igualmente. Same here, likewise. Careful with this expression, te presento a. This is the informal way of saying, let me introduce you to. If you were talking to an elder, we wouldn't say te presento a, we would say le presento a, using the formal register. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, so again, in this case, we're seeing Señorita Machado talking to Señorita Daza, and they're seated here. Señorita Machado says, perdón, excuse me, pardon, ¿cómo se llama? And so obviously they don't know each other yet. So, excuse me, ¿cómo se llama? Excuse me, what is your name? ¿Cómo se llama? What is your name? And this is the formal way of saying it. Not to be confused before over here with ¿cómo te llamas? What is your name informally? Here we have ¿cómo se llama? What is your name in the formal fashion? And she responds back and she says, oh, me llamo Raquel Daza. My name is Raquel Daza. And as they continue, now, Señorita Machado is talking to Señor Ortega and also to Ana. And Señorita Machado here in the pink says, le presento a Ana Vega. Let me introduce you to Ana Vega. And notice, since she's talking to Mr. Ortega, she's showing respect. So instead of te presento a from before, the informal way of saying let me introduce you to, she uses the formal form and she says, le presento a. Let me introduce you to. In this case, Mr. Ortega says back, mucho gusto, nice to meet you. And Ana says, oh, el gusto es mío, the pleasure is mine. All right, and remember, these are all things you should be making flashcards for, okay, to remember these vocab words. All right, as we keep moving, you see a few other greetings. In this case, these two ladies are talking, and they're looking at this guy over here, and they say, ¿Quién es? Who is that? ¿Quién es? And they ask a question, ¿Es Raúl? Is that Raúl? Who is that? Is that Raúl? And she says, no, es Juan. Notice no is the same in both languages. No means no. ¿Quién es? ¿Es Raúl? No, es Juan. Nope, that's Juan. That's John. Es Juan. And again, you see the phrase ¿Cómo se llama? Unlike before when we use ¿Cómo se llama? To mean what is your name in the formal way, in this context, we're using ¿Cómo se llama? To mean what is his or her name. So Juan is looking over here at this girl, and he says, ¿Cómo se llama? What is her name? And Esteban says back, oh, se llama Diana. Her name is Diana. Se llama Diana. Okay, and finally here in our last slide, we see Rosa and Esteban talking. And Rosa asks a question, and she's pointing over here to this guy in the yellow, and she says, ¿Se llama Miguel? Is his name Miguel? Literally, the statement says, his name is Michael. Se llama Miguel, and it has questions around it. His name is Michael? Question mark. And Esteban says, sí, yes. Se llama Miguel Luque. His name is Miguel Luque. So you have sí for yes and no for no. All right, I know that this vocabulary takes some time to learn, guys, so that's why you have the Quizlets to study. You can also make flashcards. That's one of the best ways to learn vocabulary is to make flashcards, so I strongly encourage that. Now, as we play around here a little more with mucho gusto, in this context, you're going to be listening to 4 different people who are making introductions. If you hear someone introducing themselves, I want you to point to yourself. And if you hear someone introducing another person, I want you to point off to someone else, if out into the room or whatever. So point to yourself if you hear someone introducing themselves, and point off into the space if you hear someone introducing someone else. Okay, let's listen to these.
Lección preliminar. A responder. Listen to 4 people make introductions. Point to yourself if you hear someone introducing themselves. Point to the person next to you if you hear someone introducing someone else.
1.
Te presento a Sonia.
Te presento a Sonia. Let me introduce you to Sonia. So in this case, we're introducing someone else who should be pointing off into space.
2.
Hola, me llamo Ricardo.
Hola, me llamo Ricardo. Hello, my name is Ricardo. In this case, you hear someone introducing themselves, so you should be pointing to yourself.
3.
Me llamo Carolina. ¿Y tú?
Me llamo Carolina. ¿Y tú? My name is Carolina. And you? So in this case, you hear someone introducing themselves, we should be pointing to ourselves.
4. Le presento a la señora Vargas.
Le presento a la señora Vargas. Let me introduce you to Mrs. Vargas. So in this case, we hear someone introducing someone else who should be pointing off into space. I think there's one more. Nope. Okay, that was the last one. All right. Hopefully you feel a little better about mucho gusto. All right. In this activity, this is a writing activity, and this will help you with one of your homework assignments on Google Forms, okay? Remember, our learning objective is to create sentences in Spanish, introducing oneself and others, and to demonstrate understanding of greetings and introductions. So, in this activity, we see, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? And you're supposed to choose the correct response to each question or statement. And I'm going to do one with you here, one for you. So, ¿quién es? You may remember from before, ¿quién es means? Good. ¿Quién es means who is that? Who is that? And your options are es Hugo, it's Hugo, encantado, delighted, pleased to meet you, or me llamo Carlos, my name is Carlos. Obviously, the best answer here for who is that would be es Hugo, it's Hugo. Okay, let's do one more together. Number 2, I listed it here as number 1, but it should be number 2. It says encantada, nice to meet you, encantada, delighted, pleased to meet you. And option A says, le presento a Sergio. Let me introduce you to Sergio. Option B, y tú, and you. Or option C, igualmente. Same here, or likewise. So when someone says nice to meet you, same here, likewise. It's nice to meet you too. So it should be letter C. All right. Now I want you to take a moment and pause your audio, and I want you to give numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 a try. Okay, now that you've had a second to try these, number 3 says, te presento a Joaquín. Let me introduce you to Joaquín. And option A was, ¿Cómo se llama? What's her name? Or B, mucho gusto, nice to meet you. Or C, igualmente. Hopefully here we're saying mucho gusto, it's nice to meet you. Number 4, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? Option A, perdón, excuse me. Option B, me llamo Isabel. Or option C, bien. Obviously B is the best answer here. Me llamo Isabel. My name is Isabel. Number 5, me llamo Gabriel. My name is Gabriel. Gabriel. Option A, igualmente. Same here, likewise. Unless your name is also Gabriel, you should not say that. Option B, encantado. Delighted, nice to meet you. Or option C, el gusto es mío. The pleasure is mine. Okay, and then number 6, we see mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Your options are buenas tardes, good afternoon. ¿Quién es? Who is that? Or C, el gusto es mío. So nice to meet you. The pleasure is mine. All right, hopefully you're feeling better about these vocab words. Something else you may be asked to do is to complete a conversation. So you'll see here, Carlos is having a conversation with Beatriz, and Carlos says, hola, me blank Carlos. blank te llamas? So here in this first sentence, hola, me blank Carlos, he's trying to say my name is Carlos. So we would fill in that blank with, hola, me llamo Carlos. And he asked blank te llamas. He's asking for her name. So in this case, to ask what is your name, he should say, ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo? All right, I want you to take a moment and pause your audio and fill in the rest of this conversation with the vocab words that we've been learning in this video. When you're ready, you can unpause. Okay, now that you've had a second to try, here Beatriz responds back, so hello, my name is Carlos. What is your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? She responds back and says, me llamo Beatriz. And this is where it gets kind of tricky. After that, you have a lot of multiple answers that could be right. So here, in response to my name is Beatriz, Carlos says back, well, mucho gusto, Beatriz. Nice to meet you. Or he could say, encantado. I'm delighted to meet you, Beatriz. Notice he said encantado and not encantada because Carlos is a male. And then Beatriz says back, she could say igualmente. Same here. Likewise. So she could say, el gusto es mío. The pleasure is mine. Both of those are perfectly correct. All right. So I want to take one moment here just to note, again, you see the differences in the familiar and formal forms, the informal and the formal. So we had como te llamas and te presento a, which were informal. And then we have como se llama and le presento a, which are formal expressions. Don't forget those. Okay, this next subject is one of my absolute favorite things to teach in Spanish. And so in this case, we have several different learning objectives. We want to be able to recite the Spanish alphabet. You should be able to demonstrate understanding of Spanish phonetic sounds. And I'd like for you to combine these greetings and introductions with the alphabet in order to spell your name and to spell other words in Spanish. So first, we're going to listen to all of these read aloud and hear how these sounds are made. The first time I just want you to listen, okay? Just listen to these and you can follow along. They're going to read the letter and then the word below it. So you can see in general how the sound by itself sounds and then how it sounds when we put it in a word.
Lección preliminar. El abecedario.
A. Alfombra. B. B grande. Bate. C. Cine. D. Dinero. E. Entrada. F. Fruta. G. Gato. H. Helado. I. Iglú. J. Jabón. K. Karate. L. Lápiz. M. Mochila. N. Nariz. Ñ. Ñu. O. Oreja. P. Patines. Q. Queso. R. Regalo. R. Guitarra. S. Sofá. T. Tiza. U. Uvas. V. B chica. Ventana. W. W. Waffle. X. Xilófono. Y. Yogur. Z. Zapato.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I would find that overwhelming if I were a student. Just hearing them read one time, right? That's a lot. So I actually have a little song for you that is going to help you memorize how these are pronounced, which is going to be important for our next activity. So I want you to memorize these sounds, okay? I have a little YouTube video here we're going to watch together. to make sure you know how to do these. So this is a song, and it's going to repeat the letters for you several times, so I want you to repeat them back. So I'll give you an example here. So there, after you hear A, B, C, C, D, E, F, A, I want you to sing it back. So A, B, C, C, D, E, F, A.
A, B, C, D, E, F, Hey, H, I, J, K.
Hey, H, I, J, K. Sing it back.
Hey, H, I, J, K. L,
L, A,
L, E, Y.
A, Y. Q, R, R, S, T. U, V, W, X. Y, Z.
Yo sé el alfabeto.
And you hear at the end, Yo sé el alfabeto. Ole. Now I know the alphabet. Hey. All right, so we're going to play this again, and I want you to sing as we go to make sure you have a good understanding of these. Okay, so you're going to hear it several times. Just make sure you're repeating it back. This makes a great shower jam, by the way, if you need a way to memorize these.
A, B, C, J, D, E, F, A, B, C, J, D, E, F, Hey, H, I, J, K. Hey, H, I, J, K. L, L, E, Y, N, Y. O, P, Q, R, R, S, T. Q, R, R, S, T. W, X. W, X. Y, Z, Z. Yo sé el alfabeto. ¡Ole! A, B, C, J, D, E, F. A, B, C, J, D, E, F. Hey, H, I, J, K. Hey, H, I, J, K. L, L, E, Y, N, Y. O, P, Q, R, R, S, T. Q, R, R, S, T. W, X. W, X. Y, Z, Z. Yo sé el alfabeto. ¡Ole!
Okay, so hopefully you have a feel of how these sounds work. So we're going to practice these just a little bit here. In this activity, you're going to hear a letter being read aloud. And I want you to write down or keep in your brain or whatever the letter that you hear. Okay, so for example,
Lección preliminar. A responder. Listen to letters of the Spanish alphabet. Write each letter that you hear on a piece of paper and hold it up. 1. L.
so the letter you hear in number 1 is L. L. So what letter should you be writing? L. Yeah, you should be writing an L. L. Okay, keep listening.
2. E.
E. So number 2, you heard E. E. What letter is E? And E is an E. Okay, so the letter E. be very careful. The sound E in Spanish is an I. So E for the letter E in English and I for the letter I in English.
3. J.
Jota. What letter should you be writing here for Jota?
4.
A Jota is a J. Jota. Try number 4.
Ñ.
Enye. Enye. And enye is the N with the little squiggly, the tilde above it. Enye. Okay, not to be confused with just plain old N, the regular N.
5. B.
Be. The letter you heard here was be, which is a B. A B. Be very careful. B and V sound a lot alike in Spanish. You can hear be and ve. They seem very similar there.
6. I.
E. E. All right, so we know that E is not the letter E in English. E should be an I. Careful there.
7. H.
H. My favorite letter. H is an H. My students a lot of times call me Señor H. Mr. H. Señor H.
8. B grande.
B grande. Okay, so you, by the way, anytime you put grande after something, it makes it big or capital. So B is a plain B, and B grande is a capital B. All right, so those are your letters in that context. We're going to take this and build a little bit now. So in this next activity, you're going to hear someone reading a party list. They're giving you the names of people who are coming, and you're supposed to be writing down the names that you hear. Okay, so let's listen to an example together.
Lección preliminar. Actividad 8. Lista. Listen to someone dictate an invitation list for a party. Write down each name as it is spelled. Modelo. You hear
D A N I E L.
You write Daniel.
So you saw them all written out here. D, A, N, I, E, L. Daniel, or Daniel in English, Daniel. Okay, so I'm going to let this play through all the way, and I want you to give it a shot. Okay, so you're going to listen to how they're spelled, and you're going to write the names that you hear. Okay, so just do your best. Some of these are going to be names you maybe have never heard before, so just do your best.
1. X, I, M, E, N, A.
All right, so in this one, in number 1, you heard X, I, M, E, N, A. So you should have written down X, I, M, E, N, A. Jimena. Okay? All right, let's continue listening and see how you do with the rest of these.
2. G, U, I, L, L, E, R, M, O.
All right, so I want to repeat those for you really fast. So you have G, U, I, L, L, E, R, M, O. That was number 2. Let's do number 3. Keep going. We're going to check these in a minute.
3. A, L, E, J, A, N, D, R, A.
Okay, so in this one you heard A, L, E, J, A, N, D, R, A. Number 4.
4. Y, O, L, A, N, D, A.
Okay, so one more time, you heard Y, O, L, A, N, D, A. Number 5.
5. B grande. E, A, T, R, I, Z.
And here you heard B grande, E, A, T, R, I, Z. Number 6.
6. J, O, S, E, F, I, N, A.
All right, so here you heard J, O, S, E, F, I, N, A.
7. H, U, G, O.
Number 7, you heard H, U, G, O.
8. T, O, N, O.
Here you heard T, O, N, O. All right, so you can see the correct answers here written out for you. So number 2, you heard the name Guillermo. Number 3, Alejandra. Number 4, Yolanda. Number 5, Beatriz. Number 6, Josefina. Number 7, Hugo. And number 9, Tonio. Okay, so now in an in-person classroom, I would have you partner up with someone and spell your name aloud. So in this case, you don't have a partner, so we can't really do that with a partner, but I will be your partner for the purpose of the activity. I'm going to spell a couple of names for you here, and I want you to see how you do. So none of you guys know my middle name, but you do know my first and last name, so I'm going to spell my middle name for you and see if you can get it, okay? So I'm going to spell it out for you. T, O, D, D. Try one more time. T, O, D, D. Okay, well, you should have written down Todd. Todd on your paper is my middle name. All right, moving on. So next, our learning objective for this next section, I'd like for you to be able to create sentences in Spanish expressing one's origin, your origin, where you're from. And I'd also like for you to be able to identify Spanish-speaking countries from around the world. So you see here a little screenshot of a conversation between Señor Costas, Mr. Costas, and Alicia. And Señor Costas, he starts the conversation, he says, Alicia, ¿de dónde eres? Alicia, where are you from? Or literally, from where are you? You may realize this in English, but it's actually incorrect to end your sentence in a preposition. We say, where are you from? Or where is he at? Those kind of things. That is incorrect English, right? We should say, from where are you? ¿De dónde eres? Alicia responds to his question, where are you from? And she says, soy de Estados Unidos. So, soy de, I am from. Soy, I am, de, from, I am from. And she says, soy de Estados Unidos. I'm from the States United, or we would say the United States, the US. And Alicia asked him, ¿de dónde es usted? Any guesses here on the difference? We had ¿de dónde eres? And ¿de dónde es usted? They both mean where are you from? What's the difference? Yeah, very good. ¿De dónde eres is where are you from informally. And ¿de dónde es usted is where are you from in the formal way. And notice she's using the usted form with him because he's maybe an elder, he's a little older, she wants to show respect to him. And Señor Costas responds, and he also says that soy de Estados Unidos, soy de la Florida. I'm from the US also, I'm from Florida. Okay, so now, as you hear those, I want you to be able to identify some Spanish-speaking countries. So I have a little song for you that is going to help you in identifying these countries. Okay, so let's listen. Again, this makes a wonderful shower jam. Here we go.
México, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panamá, Cuba, República Dominicana, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Perú, Chile, Bolivia, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, España, Guinea Ecuatorial. Son los 21 países donde hablan el español. Más de 500 millones de personas, como tú y como yo. Como tú y como yo.
Okay, so I'm going to play this for you again so you'll of course get to hear it, but it's important to remember everybody hears Spanish and they're like, yeah, they speak Spanish in Mexico, they speak Spanish in Spain. Those are only 2 out of the 21 countries in the world where Spanish is spoken. So as you saw, los 21 países, 21 countries, and over 500 million speakers. So it's important to realize that. So let's keep listening.
México, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panamá, Cuba, República Dominicana, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Perú, Chile, Bolivia, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, España, Guinea Ecuatorial. Son los 21 países donde hablan el español. Más de 500 millones de personas, como tú y como yo. Como tú y como yo.
All right, so fortunately, if you were in an in-person class, I would continue to play that for you repetitively until you knew all those songs, but I'm not going to do that to you right now because we don't have time for that. But as we keep moving, again, you see here a map with some of these countries we've been talking about, and it gives you the model Guillermo in number 7. And as you look over here at number 7, it is pointing to the country of Uruguay. Uruguay. Right here with Chile and Argentina, Uruguay. So we need to write a sentence that says Guillermo is from Uruguay. Guillermo es de Uruguay. Let's do another one together. In number 1, you see Andrea, and it's pointing to country number 5, which is Bolivia. So in this case, we want to write a sentence that says that Andrea is from Bolivia. We're going to say Andrea es de Bolivia. All right, we'll do just one more. In number 2 here, we are pointing to country number 8, which is right here. And we want to write a sentence to say that Tomás, my cat, Tomás is from country number 8. In this case, Tomás es de, and that's Chile. Tomás es de Chile. Okay, I want you to take a moment and pause your audio, and I'd like for you to give numbers 3 through 8 a try for me, please. You can unpause when you're ready. All right, now that you've had a second to try these, let's take a look. In number 3, we see Nicolás. Nicolás is from Peru, country number 4 here. And we wrote a sentence that said, Nicolás es de Perú. Number 4, we see Sofia, and pointing to country number 2, Sofia is from Colombia. So we're going to say Sofia es de Colombia. Number 5, Veronica, and country number 3, Verónica es de Ecuador. Number 6, Mateo, in country number 9, Mateo es de Argentina. By the way, Mateo is my name in Spanish, Matthew. Mateo es de Argentina. Number 7, Consuelo, and we're pointing over here to country number 1, Consuelo es de Venezuela. And numero 8, Pablo, and we're pointing here to country number 6, Pablo es de Paraguay. Paraguay. All right, cool beans. So again, we're continuing on with our learning objective of being able to create sentences expressing origin and identifying Spanish-speaking countries from around the globe. So if we were in person right now, I'd be asking you to engage in a speaking activity with one of your classmates. As you can see here with the model of Colombia, partner 1 would ask, ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? And partner 2 would respond using the country in the model and say, Soy de Colombia, I'm from Colombia. So, ¿de dónde eres? Soy de Venezuela. ¿De dónde eres? Soy de Panamá. It's important that you realize, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from? And soy de, I'm from. Okay? You can turn these statements into a question as well. So look at this sentence that Beto es de Paraguay. Beto is from Paraguay. And then you just take the period out and put question marks around it, and you turn it into a question. So instead of stating that Beto is from Paraguay, we're asking now, Beto es de Paraguay? Is Beto from Paraguay? And in English or in Spanish that's spoken, you can just tell from the intonation of your voice. Beto es de Paraguay. Beto es de Paraguay? Like you can just hear the question in there. Whereas in written speech, you have to look for either the period or the question marks. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay, our next learning objective is talking about los números. I don't know about you, some of you guys probably already know your numbers from 1 through 10. I know we started learning in my school Spanish in like kindergarten, so I kind of already knew 0 through 10, or maybe from watching Dora, la Exploradora. However, I will go over these to make sure you know these. One of our learning objectives is to recall those numbers from 1 through 10, but also to be able to exchange phone numbers in Spanish. So we're going to do a few activities with you. So you never know. You might find yourself in a foreign country and you need to get that hot girl or that hot guy's digits. So it's important that you know how to do this, right? So here you see Esteban again, and Esteban's asking the question, ¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono? I want to make sure I say those again. ¿Cuál es tu número, number, and número de teléfono? What's your phone number? Teléfono is a phone. Be careful, it's not a teléfono, okay? Teléfono. And she responds here and she says, oh, mi número de teléfono es 764-9081. And she reads out the numbers. So let's go through these. You have 0, 0, 0, almost like 0, but written with a C, 0. Uno, 1. You've all probably played the game Uno before, the card game. So 0, 1, 2. Repeat with me. 0, 1, 2. 3 is 3. 4, 4. 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, and 10, 10, 10. In this photo, you see two different people speaking, and this time the man asks in a polite way, he says, Perdón, ¿cuál es su número de teléfono? Excuse me, what is your phone number? And he's using a more formal tone in this case. Maybe in a professional situation. You can see he looks like he's working here on his computer. And she says back, oh, mi número de teléfono es 253-7109. And in this case, she tends to be, he's showing respect using su número de teléfono, as opposed to before where we said tu número de teléfono in the informal form. All right, so you're going to hear some numbers read aloud. If you hear an even number, I want you to raise your right hand. And if you're an odd number, I want you to raise your left hand. Okay, let's do a few of these.
Lección preliminar. A responder. Listen to these numbers. If you hear an even number, raise your right hand. If you hear an odd number, raise your left hand. A. 8.
Ocho. All right, ocho is an even number. We should be raising our right hand. 8.
B. 5.
Cinco. 5 is an odd number. We should be raising our left hand.
C. 9.
9 is an odd number. We should be raising our left hand.
D. 6.
6 is an even number. We should be raising our right hand. 6.
E. 4.
4 is an even number. Again, we should be raising our right hand. 4.
F. 1.
Uno means 1. Uno is an odd number. We should be raising our left hand.
G. 10.
G. 10. 10 is 10. 10, we should be raising our right hand. That is an even number. All right, so hopefully you feel pretty good about these. All right, this is the hard part. I'm going to make you do some math. Are you ready? All right, so it's going to give you a math problem, and you need to write it out in Spanish. So in this case, in the model, you're given 2 plus 4 equals 6. Now, I want you to know plus in Spanish is más, M-A-S, más, like Taco Bell's model that you should live más. Más is plus. Menos is minus. And we're going to use the word son for equals in this case. So in this math problem, you have 2 plus 4, so we would say 2, dos, plus, más, 4, 4, and then son equals 6. So dos más 4 son 6. 2 plus 4 is 6. Let's do another one together. Here in number 1, you see 8 minus 3. So we're going to say that 8 in this case is, good, ocho minus menos 3, tres. So ocho menos 3, 8 minus 3, son 5. Ocho menos 3 son 5. All right, I have a few here that I'd like for you to try. Numbers 2 through 9. If you would, please take a moment, pause your audio, and give the rest of these a try. All right, now that you've had a second to try these, let's take a look. Number 2 says 4 plus 4. 4 más 4 son 8. 4 más 4 son 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. Number 3. 3 plus 6. 3 más 6 son 9. 3 más 6. 3 and 6 son 9 is 9. Number 4. 7 minus 7. Ooh, that's going to give us 0. So 7 menos 7 es 0. 0. Number 5. 1 más 9. 1 plus 9. 1 más 9 son 10. Number 6. 5 menos 2 son 3. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 5 menos 2 son 3. Number 7. 6 menos 5 es 1. So 6 minus 5 is 1. Number 8. 7 plus 0 is still 7. 7 más 0 son 7. And number 9, 10 minus 8. 10 menos 8 son 2. 10 minus 8 is 2. All right, so hopefully you're feeling better about these numbers. Now, in a classroom setting, something we could do that's very fun with this that I like to do is I put you in groups and I let you play telephone where one person at the front of the row whispers their phone number to the person behind them and passes it back. But unfortunately, here in this online environment, we can't do that right this moment, but one day. All right, so I think you have an understanding of your numbers. Our next learning objective, I'd like for you to be able to identify days of the week in Spanish and to differentiate a little bit between English and Spanish days of the week. So you see a little calendario here, a calendar that's been written out for you, and you see all the various days of the week. So la semana here refers to the week as a whole, la semana. Here, as you look at the calendar, I want you to notice that unlike English, the Spanish calendar starts on Monday. Our calendars usually start on Sunday in English, but the Spanish calendar is usually written beginning with Monday, lunes. Okay, so as you look through your days, you see lunes, Monday, martes, Tuesday, miércoles, Wednesday, Jueves, Thursday. Viernes, Friday. And sábado, Saturday. Down here you also have domingo, Sunday. These are your days of the week. Do you notice anything that's a little weird about these days of the week in Spanish? Well, they're not capitalized, right? In English, we say Sunday with a capital S, Monday with a capital M. Here, these days of the week are not capitalized, and as I said before, the calendar begins on Monday as opposed to Sunday. You'll notice here that jueves is circled, and someone has written in hoy, H-O-I, hoy. Hoy means today, hoy. Also, with the next day, they've written mañana. You already know hasta mañana, see you tomorrow. Mañana is tomorrow. Okay, just a few things to work there. And you're going to use this in a second. In general, when we're saying something happens on Monday, we're going to say el lunes. When something happens on Mondays, you're going to say los lunes. Okay, so on one certain day, we use el, and on multiple days, we use los. All right, so let's take a look at a little conversation here. You see Ana here in the blue, who is speaking to Rosa over here in the pink. And Ana asks, ¿Qué día es hoy? ¿Qué día es hoy? Any of those words you know? Well, a día, we just said, was a day, and hoy means today. So, ¿Qué día es hoy? What day is today? And Rosa answers, and she says, oh, hoy es jueves. Today is Thursday. Hoy es jueves. In this conversation, you see Juan here in the green and Esteban here in the red. And Juan asks in question form, Hoy es viernes? Today's Friday, right? Is today Friday? And Esteban says, No, mañana es viernes. Tomorrow is Friday. That's a bummer, finding out Friday's the next day. Mañana es viernes. All right, I'm going to give you a chance to listen to some days of the week spelled out. And we're going to have to get creative here. I want you to pretend that you have Spanish class every day from Monday through Friday. And if you hear a day read aloud that you have Spanish class any day from Monday through Friday, I want you to stand up. If you hear a day that you don't have Spanish class, aka a weekend day like Saturday or Sunday, I want you to sit down. Okay, so stand up if you hear a day of the week, and sit down if you hear a day of the weekend. Let's practice here.
Lección preliminar. A responder. Listen to the days of the week. If you hear a day that you have Spanish class, stand up. If you hear a day that you don't have Spanish class, remain seated. 1. Martes.
Martes. Okay, remember martes is Tuesday. You should be standing up. Martes.
2. Domingo.
Domingo. What day is domingo again? Yeah, domingo's Sunday. We should be sitting down. Domingo.
3. Lunes.
Lunes. Lunes is Monday. We should be standing up. Lunes.
4. Miércoles.
Miércoles. Miércoles was Wednesday. We should still be standing up. Miércoles.
5. Sábado.
Sábado. Sábado, my favorite day of the week. Sábado is Saturday. You should be sitting down. This is a weekend day. Sábado.
6. Jueves.
Jueves. Thursday. Jueves. You should be standing up. All right, hopefully you feel okay about those. In this next activity, Actividad 17, titled Los Días, the days, you're supposed to complete the list below with the missing day of the week in Spanish. So number 1, you see lunes, Monday. We skip a day. We go to miércoles, Wednesday, and then jueves, Thursday. So as you fill in the days of the week here, we go from lunes blank to miércoles. So between Monday and Wednesday, we have Tuesday. I should fill in martes. Martes. All right, in number 2, you're given viernes. We skip one, and we go to domingo. So viernes, Friday. We skip something, and we go to domingo, Sunday. We skipped Saturday, so we should fill in there in the middle, sábado. All right, I want you to pause your audio and give numbers 3 through 6 a try on your own, por favor. Okay, as we look at these, number 3, we went from blank to martes and then miércoles and jueves. So we skipped something and we went Tuesday, martes, miércoles, Wednesday, and jueves, Thursday. In this case, we've skipped Monday, lunes. In number 4, we sort of change around a little bit. We have lunes, martes, miércoles. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we skip and we're missing Thursday, jueves, jueves. All right, number 5, we are skipping the first one. We go to jueves, Thursday, and then viernes, Friday, and sábado, Saturday. We have skipped Wednesday, miércoles. And our last one, number 6, we have domingo, Sunday. We're skipping one and we go to martes, Tuesday. Between Sunday and Tuesday, we have lunes, Monday, lunes. All right, so make sure you know those. All right. Now, you're going to hear some statements in this activity read aloud about some days of the week. If the statement you hear is logical, lógico, I want you to write down an L. If the statement you hear is ilógico, illogical, I want you to write down IL, ilógico. Okay, so L for lógico, IL for ilógico. Right? So listen to the days of the week that you hear.
Lección preliminar. Actividad 18. ¿Lógico o ilógico? Listen to these statements about the days of the week. Write L if the statement you hear is lógico, logical, or I if it is ilógico, not logical. Modelo. You hear, hoy es viernes, mañana es domingo. You write.
So you heard that hoy es viernes, mañana es domingo. So hoy es viernes, today is Friday, mañana es domingo, tomorrow is Sunday. I don't know about you, I think we skipped a day in there. This should be ilógico, because if hoy es viernes, mañana es sábado. Sábado, okay?
I. 1. Hoy es martes, mañana es miércoles.
You heard in number 1, hoy es martes, mañana es miércoles. So would you write lógico or ilógico here? Yeah, you should be writing lógico. Hoy es martes, today's Tuesday. Mañana es miércoles, tomorrow's Wednesday. That makes sense.
2. Hoy es jueves, mañana es sábado.
Hoy es jueves, mañana es sábado. So are you writing lógico or ilógico? Hoy es jueves, today is Thursday, mañana es sábado, tomorrow is Saturday. So if today's Thursday, tomorrow's Saturday. Oh, that's ilógico, because if hoy es jueves, mañana es, yeah, it should be viernes, Friday. Very good.
3. Hoy es lunes, mañana es viernes.
So here we heard that hoy es lunes, mañana es viernes. Today is Monday, hoy es lunes, and mañana es viernes. Tomorrow is Friday. Ilógico. Si hoy es lunes, mañana es martes. Okay, I think you're getting the hang of these days of the week. Something else that you might be asked to do is the same kind of thing here. I'm giving you a day of the week on our little calendar here, and you have to tell me what day today is and what day tomorrow is based on that day of the week that you see. So for example, in the model, we are given the number 6, And if we look at the calendar here at septiembre and we find the 6th, you can see that we are on martes. Remember, the calendar starts with Monday, lunes, and goes through Sunday. So we have the M here for martes. We need to write a sentence that says, hoy es martes. Today is Tuesday, and therefore mañana es miércoles. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Okay? Let's try another one together. In number 1, we're looking at the second day of the month. Well, September the 2nd, you can see it has a V above it. September the 2nd is viernes, Friday. So we need to write a sentence that says, today is Friday. Hoy es viernes. And this means that tomorrow has to be Saturday. So mañana es sábado. Hoy es viernes, mañana es sábado. Okay? I want you to pause your audio. I'd like for you to give numbers 3 through 8 a try for me, please. Okay, now that you've had a second to try these, number 3 is pointing to the 28th, which happens to be on the second M here, miércoles, so Wednesday. So we're going to write a sentence that says, hoy es miércoles. Today is Wednesday. And therefore, mañana, tomorrow, es jueves. Tomorrow is Thursday. Number 4, we're looking at the 15th, which has a J above it. It's jueves. So we would say that hoy es jueves. Today is Thursday. And therefore, mañana es viernes. Tomorrow is Friday. Okay. In number 5, you're looking at the 18th day of the month, in which case we're pointing to the D, domingo, and we've said that hoy es domingo. Today is Sunday, and therefore mañana, tomorrow, es lunes. Tomorrow is Monday. Number 6, we are pointing to the third day of the month here, which in this case has an S above it. We know that hoy es sábado, today's Saturday, and therefore mañana es domingo. Number 7, we're pointing to the 20th day of the month, which has an M above it. It is martes. Hoy es martes, today's Tuesday, so therefore mañana es miércoles. And number 8, the 16th, you can see here we're pointing to the V above it. Hoy es viernes, and therefore mañana es sábado. Sábado. All right, hopefully you're feeling better about identifying these days of the week in Spanish. The next topic I would like to speak to you about today is weather. So you see here, our objective for this component is to create sentences describing the weather in Spanish. And you see this guy here in the red shirt, he's got a bandana, he's patting his forehead, and man, he says, "Whew, hace calor." Say it back with me. Hace calor. Shoo, it's hot. Hace calor. It is hot. And this girl in the green is asking a question. She asked him, ¿Qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? ¿Qué tiempo hace? And he responded, hace calor. Over here you see Natalia. She's got her Puerto Rico shirt on. She's got some shades on. And she says, man, hace sol. So, repitan. Hace calor? Hace calor was, it's hot. Hace calor. Over here we heard, hace sol. Hace sol. Repitan, hace sol. Yeah, it's sunny. Hace sol. Okay, let's keep looking at some more. Here in letter C, you see Jorge, which is George in Spanish, and he's holding an umbrella, and he says llueve. Careful there, the double L in Spanish makes a Y sound. So let's say that back. Llueve. Llueve, yeah. It's raining. Llueve. Over here at letter D, you see Andrea. And Andrea, she's shivering. She's got her mittens up in front of her face. And she says, oh, man, hace frío. Hace frío. Oh, it's cold. Frío. I always tell my students to remember the word frigid. If it's frigid outside, it's very cold. And frigid kind of looks like frío. Okay, so hace calor, it's hot. Hace sol, it's sunny. Llueve, it's raining. Hace frío, it's cold. And letter E over here, Diego says, hace viento. Notice he's got a jacket on. He has his windbreaker on. He says, hace viento. It's windy. Hace viento. And in our last one down here, letter F, Mariana. She has a snowboard on and some mittens and some, looks like a Patagonia jacket or something. She's cold. She said, nieva. Oh, nieva. It's snowing, nieva. Okay, so these are your weather expressions. As always, I try to give you plenty of listening practice here. to prepare you for the real world. So in this expression, remember our objective, we're trying to create sentences describing the weather. You see A, B, C, or D. In letter A, yeah, it looks like it's raining. Letter B, it looks sunny. Letter C, it's snowing. And letter D, it's windy. You can see the palm tree about to blow away here. So I would like for you to listen to what it says in the audio, and then I want you to select A, B, C, or D, depending on what type of weather expression it says, okay?
Lección preliminar. Actividad 20. El tiempo. Listen to 4 meteorologists describe the weather in their region. Write the letter of the photo that corresponds to the weather description you hear. 1. Hace sol.
Hace sol. Okay, hace sol means it's sunny. So we should be selecting letter B, hace sol.
2.
Llueve.
She said llueve. Think about what llueve means. It's raining. Yes, we should pick letter A, llueve.
3.
Hace viento.
Hace viento. Oh, what's hace viento mean? It's windy. Okay, we should be selecting letter D in this case, as in dog.
4.
Nieva.
Nieva. All right, nieva. What's that mean? It's snowing. We should be selecting letter C in this case, nieva. Okay, so in this next activity, we're going to give you a chance to practice your writing skills. It's going to give you a temperature. Notice it gives you that temperature both in Fahrenheit, which we use here in the United States, and in Celsius, which is used in many Spanish-speaking countries. So, for example, in the Modelo, you're given 32 degrees Fahrenheit, or 0 degrees Celsius, and in response to that, this person wrote, hace frío, it's cold. All right, so you're deciding between hace calor, it's hot, and hace frío for all of these. So number 1, it's 15 degrees Fahrenheit or -9 degrees Celsius. In this case, it's pretty cold. We're going to say hace frío. All right, and number 2, we see that it's 94 degrees Fahrenheit or 35 degrees Celsius. And in that case, it's pretty hot. We're going to say hace calor. All right, so I'd like for you to give numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 a try for me, please. All right, now that you've had a second to try, number 3 tells us that it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my gosh, that's cold. We're going to say hace frío. Same thing with number 4. It's 4 degrees Fahrenheit or -16 degrees Celsius. We know that's pretty cold, so we're going to say hace frío. Number 5, it's 88 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hot outside. I bet it's summertime. We're going to say hace calor. And in number 6, it's 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my gosh. Hace mucho calor. It's very hot. We're going to say hace calor. Hace calor. All right. And finally, this brings us to our last topic for this video. This is about classroom activities in Spanish. Okay, so here our learning objective is that you can demonstrate understanding of classroom activities. Now, if we were actually in class together, I would have you do things like open your book and close your book and stand up and sit down. But so we can't really do all that necessarily. I can't see you doing it, but I'd like for you to try some of those things with me as we watch this video. So in this case, the maestro, you can see the maestro is standing over here. That's a teacher, maestro. Now, if he were a female teacher, he would be maestra, ending in an A instead of an O. Remember, in Spanish, the O is masculine and the A is feminine. So he's a male teacher. He's a maestro, like me. And in this case, the maestro says, she's asking the teacher, she says, maestro, ¿cómo se dice Wednesday? ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say Wednesday again? She can't remember how to say it in Spanish. So she asked, ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say Wednesday? And the teacher says back, oh, se dice, you say, se dice miércoles. And he translates it back to her. ¿Cómo se dice Wednesday? How do you say Wednesday? Oh, se dice miércoles. You say miércoles. And you can see this is a picture of la clase as a whole, the class in general, la clase. Okay, now in this case, he's not just any maestro. This guy is el maestro de español. He's a teacher of Spanish, el maestro de español. You might have el maestro de francés, a French teacher, el maestro de historia, a history teacher, el maestro de ciencias, A science teacher, el maestro de matemáticas, math, any of those. And in here you see he's talking to a student and she's given him something, maybe a present or something, and he says, "Oh, muchas gracias, thank you very much." And she says back, "De nada, you're welcome, de nada." Okay, these are some other expressions that you see in your book. I'd like for you again to make flashcards with these, study these, make sure you know them. Okay, you see some different expressions here, and the best way to learn these is just to memorize. So you see here in la clase, in the class, abran los libros. Open your books. Abran los libros. And your teacher might specify the page. Abran los libros en la página 10. Open your books to page 10. Or he or she might tell you to cierren los libros. Close your books. Cierren los libros. As you keep going, you saw this one a second ago. ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say? And se dice, you say. Same thing here. ¿Cómo se escribe tu nombre? How do you spell your name? And then you answer with se escribe, it's spelled. So if someone were to ask me, ¿Cómo se escribe tu nombre? I would say, oh, se escribe M-A-T-T-H-E-W. And I would spell it out, right? This is an important one. ¿Comprendes? Do you understand? Notice the word comprendes kind of looks like the word comprehend. So comprendes, do you comprehend? Do you understand? Comprendes. Okay, here you see levanten la mano, raise your hand, levanten la mano. If someone's going too fast, you can say más despacio, por favor, kind of like the song Despacito. Más despacio, por favor. If you don't know the answer to something, you can say no sé, I don't know, no sé. These two expressions, ¿qué quiere decir and quiere decir, are a lot like ¿cómo se dice and se dice. So if you see a word and you don't know what it means, you might say ¿qué quiere decir enseñar? And someone else would translate for you quiere decir to teach. ¿Qué quiere decir and quiere decir? We used this one a second ago. Repitan, por favor. Repeat, please. Repitan, por favor. You have saquen una hoja de papel. Get out a piece of paper. Siéntense. Sit down. Not to be confused with levántense. Stand up. And levanten la mano. Raise your hand. Siéntense. Sit down. And then some other common things. ¿Tienen preguntas? Do you have questions? Or verdad? Right? Here in this photo, you see that quiere decir thing being explained here. You can see a female teacher over here. This is a maestra, and it does say she's a maestra de español. And this kid's asking her a question. He says, perdón, perdón, ¿qué quiere decir número? What does número mean? And she says, oh, quiere decir number. It means number. Okay, so in this activity, you're given some pictures here. And you have to match up what they're saying. Here in number 1, it gives you a picture of, it looks like their bottoms are going in the seats. So we want to say they're sitting down. The teacher has probably just said letter D here, siéntense, sit down. And number 2, they're repeating, uno, dos, tres. So in this case, we should be repeating. The teacher probably said, repitan, por favor. Okay, and then in numbers 3 and 4, you can see in number 3, their hands are shooting up. They got questions. And she's asked them probably to raise your hand before you speak, right? Common classroom rule there. So raise your hand. Levanten la mano. And in number 4, it looks like they're opening their books, and you can see it's to page 7. So our command here was abran los libros en la página 7. All right, one last thing that I want you to do here. We are going to play some audio sounds, and I want you to respond to them as you would if you were sitting in class. So you're going to need to have a book in front of you. You're going to need a pencil and paper, those kind of things. So just practice here to see if you understand these. Okay, here we go.
Lección preliminar. A responder. Listen to each classroom instruction and respond appropriately.
1. Abran los libros en la página 10.
She said, abran los libros en la página 10. Abran los libros. Open your books en la página 10. Open your books to page 10. So you should have your book out and be open to page 10.
Dos.
Levanten la mano.
Levanten la mano. Levanten la mano means raise your hand. Levanten la mano. So you should have your hand raised.
Tres.
Cierren los libros.
Cierren los libros. So that book that you had open to page 10 from before, you should be closing now. Cierren los libros.
Cuatro.
Repitan. Buenos días.
She told you to repitan, repeat. Buenos días. So you should say back. Buenos días. Good morning. Last one.
Cinco.
Saquen una hoja de papel.
Saquen una hoja de papel. Get out a piece of paper. Saquen una hoja de papel. All right, guys, so we have come full circle. This video, you've learned how to greet people and say goodbye, how to introduce yourself and others, how to ask and spell names and other things in Spanish, how to say where you're from, how to exchange phone numbers, how to express what day of the week it is, how to describe the weather in Spanish, and how to respond to classroom instructions. These are the things you'll be expected to do on your quiz and your exam for the Lección Preliminar chapter. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email at any time, and hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you. Ciao.